Welcome back to the Prosperity Playbook. Today I have another special guest with me. I have my friend Adam Wright. He is the owner of Pulse Marketing and Apparel. And we've talked a lot on this podcast about the psychology of being a salesperson and how I've always wanted to kind of rewrite that and kind of take away the stigma of salespeople being slimy. But today we're going to talk about the opposite side of that and the actually the psychology of being the buyer and why people buy things. So I'm kind of excited for this conversation because I think Adam has a really unique take on this. So welcome, Adam.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm just going to let you kind of jump right in here and lead our discussion here, because I think what we always think it's going to be price. Like lowest price is always where everybody wants to start. And I've always kind of heard of this like triangle of there's the cheapest, there's the fastest, and there's the best. And you can't be all three of those things. You can pick two if you're lucky.
Yeah. I had that in my email signature.
You did?
Yeah. Oh. Right there at the bottom, like, here's my name, here's my phone number, all that good stuff. And then at the bottom, that was my like picture was pick two.
Pick two. I like it.
I can do all three, but you get to decide which of the two you'd like.
Yeah, because there are different times and places for each thing. Sometimes you just need something as fast as possible and you're willing to sacrifice a little quality or pay extra for it.
Yeah. No, and I think that is one of the like the slimy salesperson idea is the person who promises all three of those.
I think that's an excellent point. All right. So sales isn't really about convincing people. And I think that's why we get that like slimy salesperson reaction. But I think it's more about understanding what people already believe. So I always say, I'm not trying to make anybody buy a house that they don't want. They already want to buy a house. I'm just trying to help them do it the right way. So I think it's more about understanding what that customer already believes and showing them that you believe it too. Does that sound right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of ways to go with that. But if you don't also believe like that you're doing what's right by them, they can sense your insincerity.
Yeah.
And again, I think I'm going to try not to go back to this a lot, but that idea of the slimy salesperson or the snake oil salesperson, the one that's going to get away with something, the one people don't want to interact with, that's that trust or that lack of belief in, hey, this guy doesn't actually believe what he's telling me.
Yeah.
That's whether you can put any face on it you want. You think you're getting away with it. They can tell in your subconscious that you're not there.
Well, I think just the term getting away with it, if there's something that you're trying to get away with, that should just tell you right there that is not in the best interest of the client. And to be honest, like I've had dealings with somebody in a marketing position, in an apparel situation like what you do, that was taking advantage of people. Like even in our small town, even as somebody who I thought was a friend, was taking advantage of people and like trying to sign them up for these insane contracts that were super expensive. And for a small business, that might not be what they need when especially if they're very first getting started.
Yeah. So it was, tell me more about that. It was a contract that before they delivered a product. I mean, don't get in trouble.
Yeah. Basically it was like, we're going to do all of these things for you, but you need to sign this $10,000 contract and we're going to redo your website and we're going to do apparel, but we're going to build this marketing campaign for you. And they didn't even know what they were getting and they didn't know what, and then there was the sales pitch around, by the way, if you tell anybody what this pricing is, I'll deny it, trying to make you think you were getting the friend deal when in fact, I think it was the exact opposite, that it was really a shitty deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like, you just hit the bingo card of tactics of terrible tactics and like trust breaking tactics.
Yeah, exactly. And the sad part is this is a person that built trust really easily and was like well-known in the community. And I learned like after the fact how many people he had done this to. And it was horrifying for me. Like it makes me sick to my stomach to think about that. And so I think a lot of people have dealt with somebody in a situation like that where they're afraid to know who to trust. And that's exactly why we get that slimy salesperson rap.
Yeah. And I think we were sort of raised on it. This is a thought that I always like, something that, do you like Brussels sprouts?
I love Brussels sprouts.
Okay. Did you like Brussels sprouts as a kid?
I don't think I ever had a Brussels sprout as a kid, but I thought that they were disgusting because that's what everybody was like, oh, they're fart balls.
Yeah. And all of our like sitcoms and our childhood television shows and like it was all the kids. sitting at the dinner table, and their mom was like, Brussels sprouts, and they're, oh God, lima beans, ew.
Right.
It took me until I was like 20, in my 20s, to be like, oh, Brussels sprouts are good. And I use that, parallel to like, that's what salespeople were portrayed in the media, in all of our sitcoms, and it was somebody was trying to used car guy trying to talk you into something that was going to break down a block away from the, and that's the like flinch that everybody gets when you tell them you're in sales.
Well, I think it goes to an emotional response. When you start talking about eating Brussels sprouts as a kid, like that's emotion, not logic, right?
Absolutely.
It's just, you feel that pain. And even I remember my in-laws one time, I made dinner for them and there was Brussels sprouts and they were like, really? You just made this for us? Apparently my husband's mom's least favorite food is Brussels sprouts. I'm like, have you tried them? And she was like, well, of course. I'm like, but have you? Like, eat them. And like her emotional response around it was so big that she would not try it.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, fine. Everybody else at the table is going to eat these and they're delicious. But
well, that is such a perfect sales allegory. I mean, it really is.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more then. So emotion is, I think, what leads most people. There is a certain segment. I think that the statistics are that 10% of people are going to buy based on the lowest price always, no matter what you do. And then there's another 5% that are going to buy the highest price thing, no matter what, because they're just those people and they just want that highest price. But what about everybody else in between? Talk to me about what is going to lead that experience for them.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that goes into all of that, but I think that that emotional response, like you were saying about Brussels sprouts, like it's all very emotional. It's very tied into value, not getting the wool pulled over their heads, not getting tricked, not getting. There's something that I've always gone with is like a good, better, best. Mm-hmm. So folks will tell me, hey, I want something, and I don't know what I want. Like I don't know how much I can afford, or I don't have a budget for it, and I'll say, okay. Give me a window that you're willing to deal with. And then I will give a good, better, best. Here's something at the bottom end of that spectrum. Here's something at the middle. Here's something at the top. And to your, like, that proves your percentage. Probably 90% of the people will buy better, not best, not good. But
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Cause they want to feel like they're making a practical budgetary decision, but they also they want to not be looked at as the cheapest. I cut a corner here or something like that. Good, better, best. It's always better.
That's interesting. That's how I order wine because I'm not, like, I really like wine, but I'm not like a connoisseur. But you don't want the cheapest one. You don't want the most expensive. So I'll usually pick the middle of the road one, and I'm usually not disappointed.
Yeah. And when do you order the best? Like, if you've ever ordered the best, what occasion would it have been?
Yeah, it has to be something celebratory, something that's a big deal that you want to remember it. So, like, if it would be a big deal, like a wedding or a huge month at work or a graduation, something. I
was going to say, close the big deal.
Yeah.
Hey, I can afford this one time. The biggest deal. You could close a deal that could let you buy the best wine for the rest of your life, and you'd still probably go.
But exactly. But then the problem is once you've had that, then you're like, oh, that was really good. It's like flying first class. Once you fly first class, it's really hard not to fly first class anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about products in general. So one thing as a mortgage loan officer, I really try not to be commoditized. I don't want people to think of a mortgage as a necessary evil. Just, because nobody really wants a mortgage. They want a house. And the mortgage is just a tool to get them there. And so nobody really wants a mortgage. It's just a payment. But trying to help them look at that as an actual financial tool as opposed to a necessary evil, I think is an important thing. And if all that they're looking at is the interest rate, because your average person doesn't have a clue how to shop for a mortgage, they just assume it's supposed to be your interest rate. And if the rate's the only thing that matters and the fees, then it's a commodity. And that is all that matters. But if I can make it so that I can show my value and I can show how my advice and helping you do your loan the right way and making it into a part of your overall financial picture, then it's not a commodity anymore. Now we're in the advice versus price business. And that's the way that I've always tried to do things. Of course, I still want to give people a fair price, but the cheapest is never going to be the best. And I definitely want to be the best.
Sure. And what do you say to those? Like, what story do you tell people to get them to shift that mindset?
Well, I think it's very similar to what I just said. It's about digging into their financial goals and finding out what's important. It's their story. It's not necessarily my story. Sometimes there are stories around it, as far as like if somebody wants a 15-year mortgage, I'll tell them some horror stories about people that have had 15-year mortgages that shouldn't have had 15-year mortgages. But for the most part, it's about them and what else is, they come in thinking, I need to put as much down as possible, pay down my loan as fast as I can. I need the lowest interest rate. And once we really peel the onion back, for most people, it's not that at all. What they really need is to have more cash in the bank as a cushion. They really need to pay off other debts. They're behind on saving for retirement, and they have other goals like putting kids through college, buying a rental property. And when we take all of those things into account, what they're going to end up with as a mortgage is probably different than what they came in wanting. So it's about showing them how it looks different than what they thought, getting them to think about that mortgage a little bit differently. And they still have control over what they choose to do. But if I can get them to think about it, then they see it's different, because maybe they've already called 7 other loan officers and all they got was an interest rate.
Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is also a missed sales skill, where you're asking questions more than you're talking.
Yeah, I think
tell me about what you need.
Correct.
Or tell me about what you think.
Yeah. The person that talks the most loses.
Yeah. When you're inviting them, you invite them into you're inviting them into your world. Like, hey, I am an expert. I do know the ins and outs of this. I can teach you about something, but I'm not going to just sit here and blah, blah, blah you. I need you to come with me on this voyage. And that's asking questions, learning about their business. And I work also in a very commoditized business.
I'm sure.
There's 5 websites that run Super Bowl commercials that they're the Walmarts and the Amazons of the promotional product, the world, the swag world.
Oh, interesting.
And I even like kind of flinch at the word swag, because it's just so general, all encompassing, that when you like a tech company has swag, well, they just have shirts and pens and beanies and stuff that they're just going to throw as many out in the world to get their brand recognized. So swag sometimes gives me like a cringe. And what I do to sort of differentiate myself is like, yeah, anybody can order a pen anywhere.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. What do you need that pen to do? Where do you want it to get placed after the person hands it to you? Like, how long do you want that to last?
Yeah.
You have a favorite pen in your hand right now.
I do.
And I have my favorite pen sitting here. These aren't Mont Blanc $100 pens.
Right.
These are $2 pens, but there's a reason we're hanging on to. There's a story attached to it.
Yeah.
And somebody invited you to say, hey, try this.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right about that, because we've all gotten the little shitty plastic pen from the bank that costs 12 cents or whatever it is. And sometimes they live in your drawer forever, but it's never the one that you grab. It's not the one that you want to use. And I'm in this mastermind group, and he kind of spoils us rotten when we get together, and we get these like notebooks that are made out of stone, and we get these amazing pens, and it just flows, and it's so amazing. And one time last year, I went from that conference to another conference for a coaching program I used to be in within the same week. And they gave us like, the standard notebook and the standard pen. And I was like, ew. I literally didn't even want it. I left it on the table, and I like got out my forward pen and was using it, because I was like, it just wasn't the same. And I will never forget that. Like, that is my go-to thing from now on.
Well, do you have a worse taste in your mouth or a worst experience sort of attached to that event that gave
Absolutely.
you?
I actually quit the coaching program not long after that. And I won't say it was completely because of the pen, but the event in general, like even just the hats that they gave out had Velcro on the back instead of the nice ones that we got at the mastermind group. And granted, I understand I pay a lot of money to be a part of that, but it just felt like everything that they did the whole weekend at the coaching one was just half-ass, as cheap as they could, giving you something for the sake of giving you something. And like the shirts didn't even fit right. And I just was like, okay, this is, you're trying to coach elite level loan officers and charge us shit piles of money to be here. This is not going to be it.
It's not it.
It's not it.
And the impression that gives you, and that's how that's the story I have to tell to separate myself out of a commoditized business. That's what you have to tell people and get them to believe in you for a mortgage. And I think that's universal for sales. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You have to, get people to come on board, show them the value of something, invite them into that world. And if you do the wrong, it takes one drip to poison the well.
It really does. Well, would you share your Barrett Jackson story? Because I think a lot of people know about Barrett Jackson. If you don't, it's a very high-end car auction that's in Scottsdale every year. It draws tons and tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people, I believe. And I know you had an opportunity to do some work for that.
Yeah. They were just, what a cool client to have. I love cars. I love classic cars. And how, even if you had no experience with that, you're just going to enjoy seeing things that people took this much pride in, or that's worth so much money. But you buy a 6-figure car, you have to sign, I paid, here's a bill of sale when you bid on a car and you win it. And Barrett Jackson wanted that pen that they handed the winning bidder to have a weight and a feel and a value to it. And they wanted to spend some money on that, but they didn't, it didn't need to be a $100 pen. They were going to sell 500 cars that weekend.
But the pen is special, right? Like, it's a big deal to have like multiple pens sticking out of your pocket. That's baller status that you bought a bunch of cars, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, so one pen, it's a status symbol. It's a 100% a status symbol. It has to have, it has to be all those things. So we were, the pens that we ended up on year after year after year were almost always under $10 pens. Some of them as low as $4.50, but they did have that weight and that feel that made them feel good. And it was a noticeable thing. So there's Instagram clips, there's TikTok clips of guys with 5, 6, 7, 10 pens in their breast pocket. There's guys laughing like, "Hey, I look like I did something. I look like Jay Leno now with one." And what I included in my presentation is that those pens have been auctioned off on internet auction sites for $50 a piece.
That's crazy.
Just so somebody else can be like, "Look, I'm a bidder," or "This is a pen that bought a car." Like, they don't even have the car; they just have the pen. Yeah. How fascinating that is psychologically.
Hopefully, they're not like scamming on somebody trying to make them think that they bought a Barrett Jackson car.
Yeah, and that's back to that used car salesman.
Exactly. Well, that's a really cool opportunity, and I can guarantee you that they were not just picking the cheapest thing that they could find.
No, it had to tell the story.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's, a bad pen at a good conference is a bad conference, and a decent pen that feels great at a high value event, then also, it all ties together.
I absolutely agree with that. Like, you guys might be listening to this thinking this is silly, but I actually do not, because you pick up that pen every time you hear something valuable from that conference, you're going to pick up that pen and you're going to write it on whatever notebook it is. And if it's like hotel stationery with the free pens that the hotel is giving out, like, it just has a different feel. And those notebooks don't ever make it back to my house. The ones that are like the stone notebooks, like, I have every single one of those, and I've gone back and I've looked at those, and, I just have more implementation that comes out of that. It's just a different feel. It's a different mindset. Yeah,
it does. It sounds ridiculous, but there's nobody that's listening to this that doesn't have a favorite pen. And it can be a cheap pen, it can be an expensive pen, but they lose that pen or somebody else grabs it off their desk, they're going to war for that pen.
That's right.
There is value to that, and I think put in any word in place of pen, and I think that's true.
I think you're right. I think like hats for men is a very big one, and I think everybody wants to give away a hat, but if it doesn't fit right, they're not going to wear it. I mean, for my husband, that's how he will decide what hats he's going to wear. It doesn't matter what the logo says. If it is a comfortable hat and it fits him right and it doesn't give him a headache, that's the hat he's going to wear. Absolutely. And you can take that to any product, whether that's the car you drive off the lot, that's the software you're paying for to run your business. Yep. You're buying that from a quote unquote salesperson. The word salesperson, they're going to scam me into something. You bought that from somebody who built trust for you or with you, and hopefully delivered on their promise. That's another topic that we can certainly touch on. You bought that from a person. It's got value attached to it. You need to feel like you won. And then you'll be loyal to that thing, even if it's a hat. You will be loyal to that thing. And by proxy, you'll be loyal to the logo that's on the top of it. Yeah, I think so. I think people want to feel that, like, everybody wants to feel quality, I guess. even, a t-shirt that as a giveaway.
Mhm.
Some t-shirts I've been given, like they just go straight to Goodwill, and other ones, like it is just, if it's a nice material, I'll wear that thing forever and
Yeah.
I'll love it. And whatever it says on it, it might say something stupid on it, but I'm still going to wear it,
Yeah,
and I'm going to be happy.
There's I mean, this is another thing that makes me think of is like brand loyalty. Like how many country songs are written about a beat up Chevy?
All of them.
All of them. And people will put, I'm a Chevy guy or I'm a
Right.
Ford guy. Like people will fight over what brand of vehicle they have, even if that vehicle's not good.
Right, 100% true. Yeah, talk about loyalty. The Ford
Yeah.
versus Chevy thing is definitely a big one around that. Well, let's talk about why people sometimes buy a product just sheer either out of loyalty, or maybe even a better product does exist. Why do people stick with maybe something that is subpar? Like maybe here's an example. I have Verizon for my phone and it's stupid expensive. And I know that there's other things out there like T-Mobile and Cricket, but because they're so much cheaper, I'm terrified to try it because I'm just assuming it can't be as good because it's so much cheaper.
Yeah, no, I think that's I'm in the same boat. I'm a Verizon customer and I never even think about, I'm sure there's other options. I'm never changing.
Right. It's your phone. It's too important.
Yeah. And then there's also, I think, the flip side of discount economy. Like if you fly Allegiant, you are going to get on an airplane and you are going to get where you're going, but you can go, oh, that's a great price. And then it's nickel a dime, nickel
Right.
dime, nickel dime. So like, are you going to go to Cricket or something? Are you going to trust them to not find a bunch of ways to add to get
Exactly.
you back to what you are paying with Verizon?
Yeah.
That there's certainly an ego quality to that. My favorite thing is the Monty Hall problem.
Tell me about that.
All right. Do you remember the show Let's Make a Deal?
Of course.
Okay. The Monty Hall problem is that there's 3 doors and you get to pick one, and then Monty Hall opens another one.
Okay.
There's a car behind 3 doors. You get to pick one, and then he is going to open one that has a goat in it, literally an actual goat.
Okay.
Then he's going to give you another chance to pick. Or do you want to stick with the door you have, or do you want to pick the new door? And the problem is a mathematical one. First and foremost, people think when you narrow it down to 2 doors, their chance of getting their car is 50-50. But it's not. You're still doing 33%, the same. The decision is still the same as when you started. But the psychological component of that is if you switch to the other door and the car was behind the first one, then you're going to take a shot to your ego. You look like the dum-dum on TV. If you don't switch and the car is hopefully I'm doing this right, but if you don't switch and you don't get the car, you're a dum-dum. If you do switch and the car was in the first place, you're a dum-dum, and nobody wants to feel like that.
Yeah.
And we will go to insane lengths as a species to not feel like we got taken or to not feel like we made a stupid choice. So that is where like the idiom, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. That is 100% that psychology. I will ride this down to the depths of hell rather than I admit that I made the wrong choice.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And you're right. And that show's still on. Wayne Brady does that show
Okay,
now.
I had no idea. Of course Wayne Brady does it. Wayne Brady can do no wrong.
That's right. And then at least he's really nice when people get the zonk, the actual goat or whatever it is, the cardboard furniture or whatever. So yes, I think you're right though. They don't necessarily need to make the best decision. People are afraid of making the worst decision. And we've talked about that in the realm of failure on this podcast lots of times. And by the way, if you haven't already subscribed, please do. Please like, please share. Our goal of this is just friends having conversations about things that you don't learn in school, things that your parents probably didn't teach you. So that's the goal. So please share this around. But yeah, I do think that failure is something that people are so afraid of, rather than it should probably be embraced in most cases as something that we can learn from.
Yeah.
And I think that that's some of the psychology. Like you said, people don't want to feel like they got taken advantage of. And I think that's why I won't switch from Verizon. I actually think if the price was like pretty close, if I was saving like $50 a month, I'd probably give it a shot. But the fact that I'm going to save like 300 is terrifying. Just too good to be true.
That is a fascinating. I don't have enough of a psychological background to unpack that significant. Like it's almost like an uncanny valley.
Right.
You go through there's a deep enough trough where you're like, I don't believe what's on the other side is true. That can't be possible. I'm not even willing to take the step.
Exactly.
It's fascinating. I love human psychology.
Well, I think there's a lot to it in sales. And for me, it always comes down to emotion. It comes down to how people feel about it. And I think whether that's a small ticket purchase or a large ticket purchase, it comes down to what do they feel? Because nobody wants to feel bad about what they're buying. And so for me, when I do pre-approvals with people, one of the things that I do is I make a big deal out of it. Instead of like, here's your pre-approval letter. I'm like, hey, you are pre-approved. Like this is a big deal. And you've done all the right things to prepare yourself for home ownership. Look at your credit, look at your down payment, look at your lack of debt, like whatever it is that they have done to get there. I want to celebrate that for them because chances are on the other side of the phone, everybody else is telling them that the sky is falling and that they shouldn't buy a house and that it's unaffordable. And so they are looking for somebody to believe what they believe, that maybe it is a good time to buy. So if I can reinforce that for them and show them that, yeah, I do think that they're making a good decision and I'm an expert and I've been doing this for 20 years, chances are of them moving forward with that purchase are a lot better. And chances of them moving forward with me are really good because nobody else made them feel that way.
No, I mean, especially if you mean that sincerely.
Of course.
You're not just saying, oh, you did a great look. You're not blowing smoke. You're because the other side of that, and I think what people would be afraid of is that, car commercial will accept anybody. We'll extend credit to anybody who like you show up to, Crazy Pete's car dealership. We'll do it. So you think you're going to get the other side of that is I'm going to get scammed if anybody says you're pre-approved.
Well, we tried that in 2008. We tried to let people make their own pre-approvals and it didn't work. Go? It didn't work out so well. It's called the mortgage meltdown. So.
No, I lived through that.
Me too.
I was, fresh out of college, 2 years of paychecks in. Well, your next step after graduating is you should buy a home.
Yeah.
Speaking of things your parents didn't teach you or couldn't have seen coming and said, no, well, the next thing you do is buy a house. And, that was a heck of a.
Well, and sometimes it is, right? Like sometimes you are in that position to buy a house right out of college. Like maybe you've got a parent that's going to kick you some down payment money. Maybe you went into a solid job right away. Maybe it is super stable, but maybe it's not. And so that's why, exactly to your point, it can't be blowing smoke. I don't ever want to put somebody in a house that I think that it's going to make them be in a worse financial position. Like that is heartbreaking to me. I don't ever want to put somebody in a house that I think they're not going to be able to make the payments. And I would just never do that. And hello, 2008, most loan officers did because that's what they were supposed to do. And it didn't work out for them. And I lost a lot of business back then because I did not want to put people in a loan that I thought wasn't a good fit for them.
You were definitely a rare,
I know.
I just remember growing up, like in that time, most of me and my friends and the people we had were 2 years out of college, and we thought we had, we have a steady enough go at it we're steady enough to start to look at those things. But I lived in Phoenix, which was like such a really growing, insanely growing market in that era. It still is, but we used to joke that like everybody we met was a mortgage broker.
Oh, for sure.
Every
and they
single
probably
person.
were.
And it was like, oh, is that just the easiest thing you can get into and make money right now? And it was all guys our age, but we didn't realize like that the bottom was about to drop out of that. We had no idea.
Yeah, of course. And you're right. Like any monkey could do a loan and anybody monkey could get a loan back then. And it was easy. And back then you could make more commission if you charged a customer a higher interest rate. So you didn't even have to close that many loans. If you had a couple that you could charge a lot to. I mean, it was ripe for predatory things and people not knowing what they were doing. And I did not thrive in that market because that's just not how I play. So when everything melted down, people always ask me, how did I get through 2008? 2008. Well, my business actually doubled after 2008 because it was the way that I wanted to do it, the way I'd been doing it all along. It was, hey, I'm an expert. Let's show you how to do this the right way. And after 2008, the perception was nobody could get a loan. So having somebody that could say, yeah, you can, and let me show you how, and let me show you how to do it the right way so that you're not going to be the next one in foreclosure or short sale or whatever that was. So that was actually the catalyst for my business growing because people started to care more about than just rate.
Was it hard to build that trust back?
It was. I mean, because everybody was scared. And I think sometimes it is still now. Actually, social media has helped me with that a lot because I think when people find my social media, I'm not the polished, like stuffy banker. I'm very casual. I got my dog sitting here that I'm petting, I'm on my jeans and my couch. Like, I think I've been doing it a long time and I'm putting information out there for people to learn. And I'm not charging them anything for it. So I think that builds trust automatically. So when they come to me, they already have a comfort level. Yeah. Or when people are referred to me by somebody, they're saying, hey, I've already worked with Renee. She's awesome. You can trust her. Like, there are different ways to build that trust, but those warm referrals, either from social or people, it's substantially better.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't picture that hill to climb after that crash to have to like convince people to come back into your office and say, no,
you should buy a house.
Yeah, no. I mean, what a oof.
It was a wild thing for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's always going to be ups and downs in every industry, I think. And when you start talking about big ticket things like that, it's a bigger trust to build. We're in a networking group together, and it seems like over the years that I've run this group, like 15 years, it's the people that do the high ticket things like mortgage and financial advising and that kind of stuff. It takes people longer to trust before they will refer themselves or before they will refer their clients. If it's like, a flower shop, they'll refer that really easy because what could happen if that was a bad referral is a lot smaller than what would happen if you refer somebody a bad mortgage person.
Yeah, 100%. And I think what are the most like stressful things that a human deals with in their life? Like
money and relationships.
And I think like if you were to rank them, I can't say all the top 5, but I'm pretty sure that it goes planning a wedding, planning a funeral, buying a house, or at least the top 3. And wedding goes before dying, which I think is always a fantastic joke to be had in there. Like, you're more stressed out about your wedding than you are your death. Cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, if home buying is in that top 3, I mean, of course that takes a long, long time to build that trust and as a referral partner. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to refer you to a person for that. Like you said, exactly. It's like, that's going to hurt both of us.
Right. Exactly. And on that note, mortgage, the only thing that has a longer sales cycle than real estate and mortgage, do you know what it is?
Longer sales cycle than real estate and mortgage. No.
Mortician.
buying your cemetery plot.
Right, exactly, because it's like a one and done in your whole life situation. The only thing that you do less times than buying a house is that. So
I did go to a presentation the other day at a funeral home, and it was supposed to just be like a networking group, and I did think it was going to be like, here's a cup of coffee and a scone, and we're all going to hang around in this lobby. But we sat down at a presentation that was very much emphasized on how we should start planning now and start putting money away. And I'm not saying that any of it was wrong, bad advice. I am saying that it was not what any of us expected on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. Well, I am a big advocate for planning and that kind of thing. And that's a total sidebar. And we've talked about that a lot on this podcast before, that not planning is setting your heirs up for failure. But we will digress on that one. But let's come back and talk about sales a little bit more. Just regarding that kind of the psychology around it and maybe why people change their minds around sales. So if you ever had a client that maybe you were like sure that they were going to go with you, or they had something and then they changed their mind, and tell me about that and why do you think that happened?
I think that change is actually the hardest objection to overcome in sales. People whoever you're talking to about whatever product or service that you're offering them, they can believe in every single thing that you're saying and then still say no to you when it comes down not to the money, but the effort that it takes to change. To like drop a piece of software that you've been using for X amount of time to switch to another one. It's so much, time and energy and
absolutely.
And that goes for a little bit of everything.
Sure.
Switch from an iPhone to a Samsung.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this button's going to be different, and I don't know where that is, and my friends are going to see my green bubble when I text them, and there's an ego judgment there. And
yes.
But yeah, change is absolutely the hardest. It's from a salesperson standpoint. How do you tell people? How do you convince them to change? That's a really difficult objection. People can always say, I don't have time. I don't have money. That budget doesn't fit my thing. They can give you the million normal objections that every salesperson gets. Yeah. But when somebody they never say it. They never say, I don't want to change. They just start to like turtle up into their shell and stop calling you back and push you off. I mean, that's the change agent. That's the hardest.
You're right. Software, I think, is a big one. Like I use this system called Mortgage Coach, and I hope Dave Savage isn't listening to this because I think it's kind of antiquated. I don't love it anymore. And there's a better system. My friend Sam May has one that's called Home Power, and it does so many more things. And I would love to support my friend, but I'm like so ingrained in the way that I do things, and it's just so easy for me to have to like onboard an entire new system, learn it, teach it to my entire staff. Like it's so overwhelming that I haven't done it. Yeah. And I've been saying for 2 years, like, Sam, I need to switch over because your product is better. Yeah. And I have not done it. So I think that is a big one. But I think that there are two things, in my opinion, tell me what you think about this, that make people actually make changes. And I think it's pleasure and pain. It has to be big enough pain or big enough pleasure to get them to move from what they're already doing.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. But what do you... let's just take pleasure, for instance. Like, what are the components of that? Like, what are the details of that? Is that, I got a great deal. There's pleasure there.
Could be.
Now I have the best thing and I can show all my friends that I have the best thing. There's pleasure there.
Yeah, I think like on my side of things, if somebody's buying a house, I think the pleasure is the memories of the house, of what are they going to do, that their kids are going to grow up there, that they're putting their kid in a good school district, that they don't have to pay rent anymore. So it's usually, I think pleasure and pain can kind of go together. So it might be the pain of paying rent every month. It might be the pain of their landlord kicking them out. In fact, that's a huge reason that most people end up buying, because the landlord is selling the house and they have to go find somewhere else to live. And they're like, crap, I don't want to find another rental. Maybe that's my catalyst. Like very, very often it is.
If I find another rental, I also risk that person throwing me out again.
That's exactly right.
I don't want this to happen to me again. So I'm going to make a different decision.
Yeah. So I think those are the two main things that will get somebody to jump from that. Maybe they just got married and they want to have a new place for their new family. Divorce, diapers, death, all of the D's are usually the reasons. Maybe it's they got a new job and they have more money now. That might be their catalyst. That is their pleasure, that they're going to finally make the jump and do it. But I think it works on a smaller level too. If you are just that unhappy with your current swag dealer, whatever, that might be a situation. Like if they're always showing up late with stuff, or their quality, like the shirts don't fit right, or, I don't know. You tell me. I
did actually send an email pulling into your driveway. that almost explained what exactly you just said. And it's a vendor that I've used for 20 years. And one of my recent orders for a client that very much trusted me, the quality control half of their order had just slipped through the vendor's quality control. It was terrible and unusable. Oh, no. So there's strike one. The next one was, I started adding a service fee to my invoices that had never been there before. And they said, well, that always should have been there. It was our mistake. They didn't tell me after, you know how much it was? $20. Is that going to break either of our banks?
No.
But it was another like chisel of the trust.
Yeah.
And then the email I sent on the way in was that they had changed something else without telling me. And I said, okay, you know what? I know I'm not your biggest customer and you're probably not going to be sad about losing me, but you are going to lose me because you've whittled away at this enough times in the grand scheme of things, it probably, $20 again, like doesn't matter. It didn't break the bank, but it was just that one. As important as that pen is being good, as soon as it's bad, but that poisons the well so fast.
It does. And I think that there's a perceived value there too. A similar example for me, like my company just started charging us for one of the in-house programs. It's not Mortgage Coach, but one of the other ones that we use is called HomeBot. And it's been free for us forever. And now they're charging it. And I'm like, and while it's not a big deal and it's not a make or break for either me or the company, it frankly pissed me off, like big time pissed me off, because I was like, do you know how many more, like I don't ever submit expense reports. And I should be expensing my video guy. I should be expensing these trips that the company's supposed to be paying for that I've never submitted receipts. And I was like, this is going to bite you in the ass, because I am going to start submitting expense reports, and it's going to cost you a lot more than the $200 you're charging me each month. But it made me feel like I wasn't valued. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, all I'm doing is growing my business and I'm profitable, and now you're going to charge me for this? It frustrated me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, it is going to end up costing them more, but it's going to cost them more in ways that they didn't
know.
You weren't paying attention to ways that that is all it takes to get you to pay attention to those little and that's why you're not switching from Verizon.
That's right.
Because you have what you have, and you don't, like they might raise your price a couple bucks, but the fear or the anger, if you go to one of those other places, the anger. I sold tech for a minute, and it was so soul sucking that's why I say a minute. And a minute was 18 months. But it was so to tell people that we were going to offer something, and then here's all the features, here's all the features, here's all the features. They love every bit of it. And then you bought the base platform. And if you want that and you want that and you want
answer.
That. But now it's every single tech thing you can buy. You get whatever.
Totally.
It's Alexa. Now you have to buy Alexa Plus. Now you have to get, I pay a subscription fee to my wife's car that might go up. And I'm like, I just want to drive it. And also it gets me in trouble because it tells her that her car is unlocked whenever I drive it and go into the car. I'm paying a subscription to get in fights with my wife.
Perfect.
What is going wrong? There's something wrong with the system.
Well, there is that. Salesforce is a perfect example. That's our CRM tool. It works so differently for so many different companies. And they're like, oh, well, you don't have that version. Oh, well, then there's the Lightning version. Oh, well, we haven't turned that on for you. And I'm like, what are you even, just what?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And it's just frustrating. And I don't have patience for that. And I'm not the one that makes those decisions for a large company, but it's not good.
Yeah. And from a sales standpoint, and this is me shifting back from the customer to the salesperson, is I was a business development person in a tech company. And business development, they've changed. That's a rebrand from calling you a salesperson, because the word sales is that flinchy thing we started on. So now you're a business developer. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you're the leading edge. You're the tip of the spear of reaching out to people and saying, hey, I've got this thing for you. Do you want to learn more about it? And here I can invite you just a little bit. And then I'm going to tell you all the features. And then I'm going to hand you that off to an account executive, which is also not the term salesperson. And then that account executive. So that, especially in the tech world, when that business development person and the business development teams that I manage, they're going to hand that lead to an account executive. They're never going to see it again.
Interesting.
So they're promising things to a person. They never get to see the result of it, or if the promise that they've made is actually true. That is burnout. That is soul sucking. That is that will take the fun and enjoyment. That will make you think that sales is a terrible thing for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to see the good part at the end. And, while I have a team that does things in the middle of what I do, you have to be there for parts of that. And some of it can be simple as a phone call at the end or a video in the middle or whatever it looks like. But you have to have that satisfaction at the end, or you do just burn out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same for the customer too. They need to end with that warm fuzzy. We've always said how you close is how the whole transaction went. Everything could go perfectly. And if something happened at closing, the documents were wrong, that's all they remember. Mm-hmm. And you can have a shit show coming up to it. And as long as the closing goes smooth, that's probably what they're going to remember too.
100%. Yeah.
Well, as we kind of wrap up here, I just kind of want to put a bow on it, I guess, and talk about how it is, the goal isn't necessarily to sell everyone what you have. Like, I don't believe that what I have is for every single person out there. And I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that is totally fine with me. My goal is to find the people that were already looking for me. Like, maybe not specifically me. They don't know that it's me yet, but they're looking for somebody that can help them succeed financially. That's why they're buying a house. It's a big piece of what they're doing. They're looking for somebody that's going to care more than just, here's an online application, here's a pre-approval letter. So I'm looking for that person that's looking for me. So I think, I know you're a big Godin fan. So is there any like notes or anything from that or examples from that you want to bring in before we end here?
Seth didn't say this, but Seth brought this to my awareness. Nobody buys a drill. They buy the hole the drill's going to make. And that I've had that on the top of my resume. That's been my LinkedIn bio. That is really, when I sales train anybody, that's one of the first things that comes out of my mouth. You don't walk into Home Depot to buy a drill. You're going to take that drill home. You're going to use it to fix something. You're going to drill the hole that makes the other thing. Right. Seth goes back to that. And I think it's like one of his real pillars of everything, of marketing, of sales, of, crafting a story that people will buy. People do buy the story. They don't necessarily buy the product.
That's exactly right. And it's exactly what I said about buying a house too. Nobody wants a mortgage. They want a house, but probably nobody even really wants a house. They want security for their family.
There you go.
They want a place for memories to happen. They want a place to cook meals for their family. They want a place that's going to be warm and a secure place to sleep. Like, that's really what they want. It isn't necessarily even about the house. So sometimes we have to question to go deeper and find out what it really is that person is looking for.
Yeah. To drill deep on that emotional core is like the root of it all. And then I think that goes back to the trust issue. If you have the ability to drill down into that emotional core and figure out what that is, you can sell that person everything. What you do with that power, do good. Right. Do good with that power. Yes. Yeah. Use it for good, because you are holding a big piece of power over that person. If you can figure that out, you can do trust and you can do damage.
With big trust comes big responsibility.
Absolutely. It's not just for Superman. Is that
right.
where they're from?
I was like, it's a superhero of some kind. I'm not sure which one. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being a guest here today, Adam. If the audience wants to connect with you more, either if they want to talk to you about maybe purchasing some items, I know, like we've talked about elephant poop notebooks. I know this is something that you do, so I know you have some unique things. Or if they just want to like pick your brain around sales stuff. I know you're just working on getting social media accounts up and running, but what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, probably my website, because this is with a URL that was available 20 years ago when I started. It was doyouhaveapulse.com. I called it Pulse Marketing because I want to bring, a heartbeat to your brand. Okay. But Pulse MKTG is my Instagram. There's not a lot of stuff on there. I'm working on it. I'm sorry.
This is pressure for that.
I'm me throwing the gauntlet down for myself in live recorded to make sure I do more. But you can always message me through that platform, and I do check the messages. So that's the best way.
That's awesome. All right. Well, stay tuned for our next episode. We're actually going to have Adam on for a second episode, and we're going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to him, which is ADHD and how that affects your work performance. And I'm going to try to convince him that this can be a superpower as opposed to a negative. So stay tuned for that episode. And here's to empowering each other one story at a time.